Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you, wherever you are around the country. I am Gila Kurtz. I'm one of the co-founders and co-owners of Dog is Good, the lifestyle brand for dog lovers. And every other week, we bring you this lifestyle show with guests who have amazing, fascinating backgrounds, professions, interests, expertise. And today, you guys are in for a great conversation. So if you are interested in learning anything about a holistic approach and care for your pet, you definitely want to tune in, and do not keep this to yourself. You must share this with your friends. So I'm going to give you a chance to do that as you're hopping in. Want to encourage you to share. And as you hop in, please just say hello, welcome to the Lifestyle Show, and tell us where you're from. Maybe a little shout out for your dog. And hey, Kalia from Washington. So just tell us where you're from. So every week when we are getting ready to have our conversation, we always do a giveaway here at Dog is Good. And this week is no different. So we will put a link in to enter to win our giveaway. And Dr. Judy Morgan will also share a giveaway that she's going to do for you too. So you want to definitely don't want to miss out on that. So we have the All You Need Is Dog car magnet, which is brand new. And so true, right? And a pair of, it's all fun and games until someone ends up in a cone, because even though she's a holistic vet, I'm going to imagine there's probably some cones in your world. Unfortunately. So yay, Cheryl's popping in and a few others. I can't see everybody on there. For those of you who are just viewing, I sure would love if you could just say hi. I'd like to see where you're from all over. Jennifer, great to see you on here. You're freezing in New Jersey. Yes.
Yes.
Earlier, I was wearing my winter coat, which is over there in the corner. I know that those of you viewing are boo-hooing me out in California with rain, God forbid. Certainly we need it, but it's definitely different, and it's chilly here, but I feel for you. That's why I moved to California for sure. I pay for the weather. So anyway, I want to introduce you to our guest, because you guys are going to have great questions, and she just is a wealth of knowledge. So you're really lucky to be sitting here right now, being able to participate in this conversation. So without further ado, oh wait, I didn't get to share what you're going to give away. Sorry. Yes, tell us what you're going to give away.
I am going to give away, so if I can get in front of the camera, a bottle of my dental drops. So these help reduce plaque tartar stomatitis and will keep it from building up. Very simple to apply. A few drops to the upper gums once a day. We usually do it at bedtime. Really simple. All really high quality ingredients. No fillers, no water, no alcohol. So I'll send that out to whoever Gila tells me to.
Yes, and we will let you know who the winner is. So please make sure to enter to win. And we usually give it a day so that the viewers watching the replay can also have an opportunity to win as well. All right, guys, get ready. I'm going to introduce our guest. Dr. Judy Morgan is an internationally renowned author and holistic veterinarian. She's certified in acupuncture, food therapy, and chiropractic care for dogs, cats, and horses. She is a sought-after speaker and blogger in both local and national levels. She integrates Eastern and Western medicine in her 2 award-winning veterinary practices in New Jersey. So Jennifer, she's right there near you. She is the host of the Dream Visions 7 radio network with her show Naturally Healthy Pets, and has been featured in over 100 radio and television interviews. Dr. Morgan is passionate about working with senior pets and pet rescue, currently serving on the board of directors for Monkey House Senior Dog Hospice and Sanctuary. She is currently developing a full line of holistic wellness supplements for dogs and cats. And although she did not put this in her bio, she is the current Woman of the Year in the pet industry. I was fortunate enough to see her win that great award. Well deserved. So anyway, Dr. Judy, thank you so much for taking time out with us today.
No problem. Thanks for the invitation.
Yes. So she and I were chatting right beforehand, and I always do this. I have like a gazillion questions. I'm like, I have to save these for the actual show. But so I am curious, like when you decided you wanted to be a vet, maybe you were a young girl, one day when I grew up, I want to be a veterinarian. What made you decide to take the path of holistic medicine, Eastern medicine approach? I know you integrate the two, but what made you journey down that path?
It was accidental.
Wow.
I went to a school in the Midwest, so very traditionally trained for veterinary medicine, and practiced totally traditional medicine for about the first 8 years or so. And then I took a course called Veterinary Orthopedic Manipulation because it was advertised to help, animals recover from surgery, help orthopedic cases. And my partner at the time did orthopedic surgery. And I thought, well, this would be my way to help because I don't do the surgery. And when I got there, they were talking about chiropractic care. And I went, I'm in the wrong place. I don't believe in this. What are we doing? But we had paid for it, so I stayed. And then when I got home and I started using it, it was like a light bulb went off and I went, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So then I just was like, what else can I learn? And what really stuck, because I looked at a lot of things and I started studying a lot of things, and then my brain wanted to explode.
Yeah.
So, but the traditional Chinese veterinary medicine is what really stuck. And the 4 branches of that are acupuncture, herbs, food, and Tui Na. Tui Na is kind of a massage chiro combo. But the food just grabbed me, and I said, this is what I'm meant to do. And so food therapy is my favorite topic.
I am fascinated. I am so excited to talk to you about this because, the old adage, well, you are what you eat, so to speak. And you and I were talking prior, there's so much trending on the human side, right? And we were talking about what's fueling these trends. A lot of the millennials' interest in, holistic care for themselves. I know my refrigerator is filled with kombucha juice and
yeah, exactly.
all this other stuff my daughter has in there.
Yeah.
Tell me the role that food therapy is playing in your practice and how you work with your patients in resolving particular health issues with the food care.
So a lot of people come to me because their pet has been diagnosed with a problem. I mean, now we've been doing it long enough that we're finally getting people bringing in their puppies and kittens right from the start. And so that's really nice because, we can start them off great instead of, waiting until they're 15 and then coming in and going, well, this is a disaster. But a lot of times what happens is they're diagnosed with cancer, kidney failure, liver failure, some Cushing's disease, some problem, and they're put on a prescription diet. And people are becoming educated, and they're smart enough to realize at this point that, the ingredients that are in there are just awful, and the foods are really expensive. So when you read the ingredient list and you realize that it's really just a lot of waste products that are in there, and you say, oh my gosh, I'm paying $90 for a 20-pound bag of hydrolyzed chicken feathers. Like literally chicken feathers. And, people now realize that because people like me have, stood on our soapbox and said, do you really want to pay $90 for a bag of chicken feathers? So people come to me because they want to not do that. And they're starting to realize that food is pretty powerful. So I would say for about 75 to 80% of our patients, we can get them off medications and on a whole food diet, totally turn their health around. And, we have these animals that people come in and they say, well, my veterinarian gave him a week to live. I should just put him down because his kidneys are so bad. A year later, we're sitting there going, look at that. He's still eating and drinking and running around. So, and we combine things. I'll combine acupuncture with the food therapy. Sometimes we're adding in herbs if the food itself is not strong enough. I'm being joined by a cat. So, there's different things that we combine. And certainly I don't shun Western medicine. I don't throw it out the window. But what I have found is that Western medicine is really good for acute problems. But for the chronic stuff, doesn't have as much to offer. So, and what it does have to offer has so many side effects that we're getting trouble. So the food can be incredibly powerful. We can use that instead of drugs. Right.
So let's break this down. Let's have the conversation around food right now. I know you wrote a book, which is
Yin and Yang Nutrition for Dogs, Maximizing Health with Whole Foods, Not Drugs. That's my 4th book, but that's the most popular one around this topic.
Yes. And you guys can get that on Amazon, by the way. So people have a difficult time trying to figure out what they need to eat for themselves, right? And there's not a one prescription fits all, excuse me for the pun on prescription, but there's not one direct diet that is, best for all, correct?
Right.
So as you're looking at food therapy, how do you break it down for the owner in a way that is easy to understand? And how are you selecting what that diet should be based on the particular disease or ailment that the dog or cat are dealing with?
So there's 5 elements in Chinese medicine: fire, wood, earth, metal, and water. And each pet, and actually each one of us, we are predominantly one of those elements. And each of those elements is, so for instance, the wood element is the element of spring. It's ruled by the liver and gallbladder. So animals with a wood personality are commonly going to suffer from liver and gallbladder problems. So we can break it down by breed, by color. On my website, drjudymorgan.com, there is a free pet personality profile. It's a pet personality quiz. You can download that and then just tick off the little boxes for your pet and kind of figure out. He's not going to be all one thing. He's going to have a little from here and a little from here, because none of, to be balanced, you're going to have a little of everything. But you will find that one thing predominates. And that helps you figure out what you need to feed. And then in my book, we break down by the elements. So the fire element is the heart. So a fire person or a fire dog is that life of the party. They're talk all the time, redheads. They wear the lampshade at the party. They just want to be at the same, that's the dog that comes bounding into the room like, hi, I'm here, everybody.
Right.
And so they're going to suffer with heart problems if we don't take care of them. They're going to burn it out really fast. So the book talks about how to feed that element so that we save that and, kind of help them tone down just a little bit so that they don't burn out their fire too fast. And so we go through that for each one of the elements.
Okay, so I want to back up a couple things, as you've dropped a lot of great information here. First and foremost, we want to make sure that we put in that link. It's on your website, and we can just find a pet profile so we can take our own survey. That's great. I can't wait to find out Bolo and Henry. Just curious. Would I also be able to learn about me too?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Great. Now, taking this fire as an example, give me some examples of what you might encourage to be included in that diet and what you would discourage from being in their particular diet.
Okay. So the fire personalities, particularly younger in life, because they're so energetic. So think of an Irish setter, like a young Irish setter. They're redheads, they're outgoing, they talk, they're a little hard to control, trying to train them. They're just like, think of a Jack Russell Terrier. A lot of those are fire personalities. They're just all over the place. So they have a lot of yang, which is warm energy. And food has energy that it will either warm the body and it'll feed that fire, or it'll cool the body and calm it down. So venison and lamb and chicken are energetically hot. So let's take that Irish setter puppy or that Jack Russell Terrier puppy, and you've gone to the pet store and they've said, oh, this lamb and rice dry kibble is absolutely the best. And you're like, okay, fine, I'll trust them. And you take it home. Now you've got a hot dog with a ton of energy, and you're adding energetically hot, dry food to them. You might as well just throw paper on their fire. Good luck training them. Then you're going to be coming in and saying, I can't train this dog. He has no brain cells. He just can't listen. He can't focus. So, people come in and I'm like, all right, well, let's put him on a cooling diet, which is going to be rabbit or cold water fish or duck. And we'll just change the diet. Even if we stick within kibble, which is not my favorite, but even if we stick within kibble, we just change the protein. All of a sudden, people come in 3 weeks later and go, he listens now. He's trainable. He's not quite so crazy. So we can change behavior as well as medical problems.
Interesting. This is fascinating. I hope you guys are thinking. There was a question, so I want to pop that out to you. And you guys start throwing in some questions here, because you want to definitely get the most use out of your time here. Is there a natural flea and tick preventive you feel is both safe and effective?
There are quite a few. So somebody asked about the earth animal internal powder. So There are a couple of essential oil products that I use from good companies, but there's a lot of good natural essential oil products, and that's generally what I use for flea and tick prevention. You just have to apply them more often. You can also feed diatomaceous earth. Coconut with high lauric acid content is actually a really good flea repellent, so you can use it on the coat or feed it. Garlic is actually very safe for dogs, even though everybody says it's not. It's on the bad list. It's actually very healthy, and it's a really good bug repellent. So there's a couple of companies that make oral tablets that have brewer's yeast and which is just a B vitamin really, and garlic in them. And those are really good. So there are a lot of good natural ways. And let me tell you, I stand on my soapbox a lot about all the killer chemicals in the flea and tick products right now. Do not use the oral ones. They are killing dogs right and left. We're really trying to get them pulled.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really good information for sure. So give me an example as well. I'm curious to know when you have a chronic issue, like I was reading your blog on the skin allergies, and I definitely could see where there'd be a link in diet to that. Yeah. What are you doing to determine what foods will be, for that? Is it based on the type of allergy? Do you do certain testing, or is it kind of a dog has skin allergy and then this would be the diet approach?
Yeah, there really is not a one size fits all. And so we have to look at the allergy. So some of the dogs are going to have greasy skin with their allergies. Some of them are going to have dry, flaky skin with their allergies. So we might pick a food for, that's going to be more moisturizing for one or more drying for the other. But we always want to look for a novel protein. So if you have a pet who's suffering with allergies, you want to find a protein source that they haven't been on. Now, what I find in my practice as far as meat allergies, the most common in my practice is chicken and then beef. So 9 times out of 10, I'm going to rabbit, pork, or duck, which all happen to be cooling and fairly moisturizing. But I don't go to a dry kibble. There's way too many ingredients in there. Plus, we're having the problem around that whole grain-free thing right now. Right. Generally, if we really want to hone this down, we'll feed either raw or gently cooked, straight rabbit or straight duck with nothing added. We've been having really good luck with detoxing with a fermented raw goat milk diet for 30 to 90 days. That's a complete meal by itself. So we detox them by getting everything else out of their system. And that's worked really well for a lot of them. For some of them, we go to a raw single protein diet because a lot of times the carbs in the diets are really wreaking havoc. A lot of the allergy dogs are suffering with yeast problems. Carbohydrates break down into sugars. So, and that doesn't mean just grains, legumes, potatoes, so peas, chickpeas, lentils, potatoes, those all are going to break down to sugars. They're feeding the yeast. So we've got to get all that out of there. So a lot of times when I go to the raw diets, because they don't have the starches in them, these dogs will clear up just so quickly.
Amazing.
I get a few frustrating ones, but most of them, it's very fast.
That's awesome. The book that you wrote, when you and I were talking prior, what I loved about it is it provides opportunity for the owner to do a little bit of some diagnosis on their own and then to find a particular remedy so that they can take action on, which I think is probably why your book is selling so well and is such a phenomenal resource. Can you explain that on a greater detail for our viewers?
Sure. So the pet personality profile that's on my website was actually supposed to be in the book, and I didn't realize it until it was out for like 6 months. I went, let me never put that page in. So that's why it's a free download on the website. Awesome. So it helps you figure out you can figure it out just with the book, but that just makes it a little bit easier. So, for some people, they've gone to their veterinarian and they've gotten a diagnosis, and the diagnosis is he's in kidney failure. So then when you go to the chapter, it's the water element, kidneys. So you would go to that chapter in the book, and then you'd try to figure out, well, is my dog too hot or is my dog too cold? Does he have a kidney yin deficiency or a kidney yang deficiency? Very well laid out in the book. You would treat them differently. And that's the really cool thing about food therapy. It's not one size fits all. So if you go to the traditional veterinarian, they're going to give you one size fits all on that kidney prescription diet. except it doesn't work with one size fits all. So you can tailor it. And if your pet, so for instance, if I have a kidney diet recipe that has chicken as the meat base, I don't know that I do for any of them, but if I did and you didn't think your dog did well on chicken, you can say, well, I'm going to substitute that with another warming protein. So let me pick venison or goat or something else that still fits within the energies of the dog that we need. And all that's laid out in there. So people get a little scared about substituting things. And one word of advice that I will give to the listeners, read the chapter on balancing, because the recipes themselves are not 100% complete and balanced. We've got to add some things to make sure we're getting all the vitamins and minerals. They're in a separate chapter by themselves. You can do that either using whole foods, or you can do it using supplements that you can purchase. So, but I do want to point out that the recipes by themselves, because I've had some nutritionists say, well, that diet's not balanced. I'm like, well, it is if you look at the balance chapter and make sure that you're adding that in.
Totally get it. And I like that you did it like that, because what you're doing is taking the core component, the base elements that have to be there for sure, and then making it possible to add in for the complete overall thing.
And there are holistic veterinarians that make supplements that are made for balancing homemade diets. So if you don't want to have to, okay, I've got to get calcium from here and I've got to get vitamin E from here and D from there, you can just say, well, I'm just going to use that supplement and throw a spoonful in, done.
Okay, awesome. So Marion is asking, rabbit with the bone and the organs, or just the meat when you're feeding that to the pet?
If you are doing raw, absolutely include the organs and the bones. If you're cooking, you can't include cooked bone. But if you're doing a raw diet and you're going to feed it raw, then the bone absolutely could be in there. Make sure it's ground. Or if you have a bigger dog who can crunch the whole carcass, that's absolutely fine too. Ideally we want all the organs. The organs are so beneficial. And that's one of the complaints that I get from people, like treats like. So if you have a pet with heart disease, you want to feed some heart muscle. If you have a pet with liver disease, we want to get some liver in there. If they've got kidney disease, we want to get some kidney in there. Oh, cattail. And people get a little freaked out and they're like, oh God, I don't want to handle that. That's gross.
Yeah.
Or I don't know where to find it. And I mean, we do have sources for it, but those are actually really important. And what is kind of funny, in other countries, people eat all those organs.
Yeah.
Steak
and my mom used to make me eat all those organs.
Yeah.
The liver, the heart, the tongue. Ugh.
Exactly. So it's actually very healthy. It's just Americans, we've all gone,
Yes.
And it's really because economically we could afford to eat the meat, so we didn't have to eat all those parts anymore.
Right.
But in other countries, they eat everything. So
on your website, do you have resources? I mean, there's so many options for raw. I know there's a great food delivery company here in California that does the raw, but is there something in particular that people who might be new to a raw diet concept should be looking for as far as getting food for their dogs?
Oh, so the raw pet food is exploding. There are many companies coming online every day. The problem is a lot of them are just as sketchy as some of the dry food companies. And it is very difficult for the consumer to be able to pick out who's doing the right thing and who's doing the wrong thing. And certainly there are many small companies out there that are doing it right who just aren't on my radar because there are so many of them. I just learned about a new one today in Northern California. So places where people can look. If you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, when you sign up, you will automatically get an email that tells you the list of companies whose food I would consider feeding to my own pets.
Perfect.
It is not a complete list because I obviously haven't tried everything that's a little small pocket all over the country. But the other really good resource is Susan Thixton, truthaboutpetfood.com. She puts out what is called the list once a year. And the companies have to jump through hoops to get on that list. It has to be human grade. They have to show her all of their receipts for buying the product, where it comes from, how they test it, everything that they do. So truthaboutpetfood.com, awesome. She would actually be a really good guest for you.
Yes.
I can hook you up.
We're noting that.
Yeah, Susan, she's awesome. She's been fighting for the pet food consumers for probably 15 years doing an
Yeah,
awesome
I mean,
job.
it can be so consuming and
It is daunting.
overwhelming because
It
you
is.
want to do the right thing and you think you are,
Yep,
but there's ways that marketing kind of makes it seem
absolutely.
certain. Yeah.
And frankly, nobody governs their website. So the FDA and the state Department of Agriculture are supposed to regulate pet food.
Mhm.
Well, they have a hard enough time just, looking, they go into pet stores and they're supposed to test food and, they're supposed to keep track of everything. But really what they regulate is the packaging to make sure that you have the name correct and that it's in the right font and the right color and, you have the right graphics. That's really what they regulate more of. And nobody regulates the websites or the advertising for the most part. So you can put anything you want on your website. I mean, there was a company that got caught with phenobarbital in their food.
Oh my gosh.
Which actually killed some animals.
Yeah.
And their website said it was all USDA inspected human grade food.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
they left that up there
huge,
even after the recall.
yeah, it's such a huge industry. It's such a challenge. So it's really the onus is on us to really do our due diligence and follow experts like yourself to learn. I'm curious, when you say raw, I've known people who just go to the butcher at the grocery store. Is that considered appropriate for our pets, or should we be buying it specifically from a pet food authorized?
That is a really good question. So, and it's hard to answer. When you buy meat in the grocery store, it is contaminated. The USDA allows it to be contaminated. They know it's contaminated. You notice they don't test that. It's estimated that 66% of chicken in the grocery store has nasty salmonella or E. coli growing on it, but they expect that you will cook it. And it's usually surface bacteria. So that's the problem with ground meats. There's so much surface area, and that's why they, tell you to cook those more thoroughly. But the other meats, it's mostly surface bacteria. Now, our dog...
That's disheartening to learn.
Yeah. Our
I'm
dog...
going to stick to my salmon.
There you go. So our dogs have a very low stomach pH. So for the most part, the bacteria don't bother them because their stomach pH is going to kill it off. And so we can get away with buying those meats. The biggest, and then as far as the raw pet food, FDA has zero tolerance for bacteria. So raw pet food is supposed to test with zero bacteria. So actually the raw pet food is cleaner.
Wow, that's great. That's good to know. Should we be eating the raw pet food?
There you go. Well, it depends. If it's human grade, I mean, there are some that absolutely I would eat them. No problem. They have organ meats in them.
I can talk to you all day about this, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about vaccinations. Yeah, Jennifer, that sounds good. That's all I eat is salmon pretty much. Well, I do eat chicken. I don't know if I'm going to eat chicken anymore. But the vaccinations. So you have your philosophy and thoughts and theories on that, and share that because it definitely differs from
traditional. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want you to educate our crew on.
Okay, so the funny thing is that the AVMA and AHA, which are big groups, American Veterinary Medical Association and the Animal Hospital Association, if you go on their websites, it says core vaccines should not be given to dogs and cats any more often than every 3 to 5 years. Core vaccines are distemper, hepatitis, parvovirus, and rabies. So the problem is 60% of veterinarians are still recommending and giving annual vaccines. Now, in our practice, we do titers. So that's a blood test that tells us whether the animal still has antibodies that offer protection against the disease. If they have antibodies, they're protected. There's no need to give another vaccine. And so, frankly, what I've been doing in my practice in the last couple of years, and we've been doing it as a little bit of an experiment to just see what's the least that we can get away with. And so, like I said, we've got all these puppies and kittens now starting out on a holistic track, which is cool. We give one distemper vaccine at 14 weeks and straight distemper, not a combination vaccine, distemper by itself. We're giving one parvo at 16 weeks. We're doing a titer at 20 weeks and they're protected.
Great.
That's one distemper, one parvo. We test them the year later, still protected. Test them 3 years later, still protected. on one of each.
Wow.
And so the same with rabies. Unfortunately, because of the legalities with rabies, we are stuck with having to do that every 3 years. But all the other vaccines, the Lyme vaccine is a horrible vaccine. The lepto vaccine, unless you are in a high risk area, that is a horrible vaccine. My cats that go outside had one leukemia vaccine as kittens at like 16 weeks. That's the only one they've ever had. They go out, they're fine. They're 8, 9 years old. So we can get away with so much less than what we're doing. And there are a lot of vaccines. I hate the kennel cough vaccine. And I know that. So one of the problems is that we need groomers, daycare centers, boarding kennels to stop asking for annual vaccines. What they need to say is, bring me proof that your animal is protected. So bring me a titer. Bring me a titer that says, hey, look, he's good. He's good to go. Sign a waiver that says, no, I don't want to give him the kennel cough vaccine because he's going to get kennel cough from it. And he's going to give kennel cough. He's going to shed it all over your kennel for the next 3 weeks. So why do you want me to give him something that he's now going to infect everybody? Right. It's kind of dumb. So we need to educate them. But pet owners are getting more educated. Yeah.
And I feel like as a whole, the industry, that kind of shift takes a little bit of time because it's something that it's that thing where they ask for it, they do it because that's how it's always been done without question as to,
So, and Marion asked a good question there. She said she had her dog titered and his distemper was low, but his parvo was fine. But the vet told her there's no separate vaccine for only distemper. Wrong. There is a separate vaccine. They have to buy it. They might have to buy a tray of 10. Frankly, tell them you'll buy the whole tray if that's what it takes. But if that's, and I will tell you that distemper is rarely seen. I worry about parvo that's a little low because that's a bigger problem. Most of my dogs that are distemper low, I give the clients the option. And, unless they need it for boarding, grooming, or daycare, we generally don't even booster the distemper. Because they probably have enough memory there that if they do get an exposure, their immune system will kick it in.
So a couple other questions. Lisa's asking, are the titers recognized and approved in all states?
Distemper parvo titers, because nobody requires them. Rabies, you can do a titer, but nobody recognizes, as far as licensing and, state registration, that sort of thing, they don't recognize the rabies titers, which is a darn shame. Really a shame. That
is. And what about the nasal Bordetella?
We've gone to the oral one. I get less objection from the dogs, but is it so dangerous that boarding should be avoided? Well, here's the thing. Kennel cough is not life-threatening, and the vaccine isn't life-threatening, although we get occasionally, you'll see on social media, somebody will blow up about their dog got pneumonia or whatever. It's rare, but it's annoying. And if your dog actually gets kennel cough from it, you've got 3 weeks of a hacking, sniffling, it's like having a kid with a cold. It's no fun.
Yeah, and that's not fun for them, for sure.
Exactly.
You guys are asking great questions. So what do you feel is, okay, how can one find the right holistic vet? Because I totally want to be looking for one for my dogs now. And can everything that you're talking about as it relates to the food and overall holistic approach to care be applied to us on the other end of the leash?
Yes. So all the principles about food in my book absolutely apply to people and the personalities, because it was all taken from people and applied to animals. So all of that, absolutely. As far as holistic care for vaccines, I don't vaccinate myself for anything. My kids, I had them prior to having as much holistic knowledge. They definitely would not have gotten as many. And as far as finding a holistic veterinarian, your best resource is ahvma.org, which is the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. So ahvma.org. And they do have a vet finder. So you put in your state and it'll bring up all the veterinarians that are registered as members. So there might be holistic veterinarians out there who aren't members, but most of us, we're a pretty cohesive group. So they're probably going to be on there. The problem is anybody can join that membership. So it might be somebody who has taken one acupuncture course and they do acupuncture, but they're still pushing vaccines. They're still pushing chemicals that,
So
you have to go in and interview them.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would be some good interview questions to really ascertain their level and commitment to this form of veterinary care?
So I'll give you a little story. I have a client from Ohio, and she was trying to find a holistic vet that was close enough that, she could get in more often. And so she called up and found one that was about an hour away from where she lived. So she drove the hour, she walked in, and she was greeted by the huge display of prescription diets. And she went, geez. And then she looks in their front display case where they have, the heartworm preventative and all of that. And they had all the new killer flea and tick oral preventatives, and they've got all these drugs and chemicals. And she just went, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong place. This is awful. And the receptionist, hits her right away with, is your dog up to date on vaccines? And we have to go through the whole checklist. And she's just like, I should just leave. But she said, I researched this doctor. I'm going to meet the doctor because I drove this distance. And she brought her little carry bag with her with what she was feeding her dog. She was very good. She brought in all her supplements, what she was feeding and what she was doing. And so she walked in to the room and the doctor walked into the room. And so my client reaches into her bag and she pulls out, this is my first book, From Needles to Natural. My client pulls it out and it's got all these little Post-it notes and turned down corners. And the veterinarian cracks up laughing and pulls out of her pocket the same book. And the client laughed and she said, I'm in the right place. So it just happened that there was one holistic doctor in the practice. So what my client learned is, okay, every time I come here, I absolutely have to ask for this particular doctor because she speaks the same language as me. The other people obviously don't because look what's out front and what I sit with. So you might find that one person that's in a bigger practice. And if you can't find somebody that truly is holistic, then what I would say is find the traditional doctor who is willing to have a conversation. Somebody who doesn't yell at you when you say, I home cook or I feed raw. You want somebody who at least will be respectful of your decisions. So when you say, no, I'm not going to vaccinate my pet every year, or I want to run a titer, they don't go, oh, we don't do it that way. And, give you a really hard time. As long as it's someone that is willing to respect your opinion, you're willing to respect theirs. So when I go to my doctor every year, I get have you had your flu shot? These are all the reasons why you need the flu shot. And he gives me all the pieces of paper and the handouts on all the, the whooping cough and this and that. And I say, just save your paper because I'm not going to do it. And he says, but I have to do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. You do your speech. I'll kill the tree and take the paper. I'll drop it off at the front desk, but it's fine. And, we disagree to disagree. And he knows that I'm never going to get the vaccine, but he has to do his job.
Right.
So
and at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we're the advocate not only for our pets, but for ourselves too. So, you guys have to always remember that you can always and should always question if something is not sitting right with you. And with so many other alternatives available right now, and we talked earlier, I think before we were live, but we were talking about how there's such a drive and growth in this area because more and more people are becoming educated and aware and demanding the best quality because they want to extend and have the best life with their dogs for sure. Now, you have created a line of wellness products that you also have for sale on your website. How did that come about? And can you just share a little bit with our viewers about that too? Because I want them to know about that.
Well, originally it was another accident.
As all good ideas are.
I guess I'm standing in the right place at the right time half the time. I don't know. But I was at an AHVMA convention and I was trying to get content for social media. And so I invited my son to bring all of his video equipment. And we marched around to different veterinarians and all the different vendors and interviewed them about their product lines and what they were doing. And just to get video content for social media. And of course, once everybody saw us with cameras and microphones and booms, everybody's like, oh my God, what TV show are you with? And I'm like, okay, fine. I hate to burst your bubble. But we interviewed a man from New Zealand who basically produces products that have New Zealand deer antler velvet, which incredible product that stimulates stem cells for regeneration and recovery. So it's in the dental drops. It's in my other products.
Can you say it again? You froze for a second. Can you say that again? What's in it?
Oh, so New Zealand deer antler velvet. And the deer antler velvet is a renewable resource. And from New Zealand, they don't have chronic wasting disease, but it stimulates stem cells. It's for regeneration and recovery. I take it myself, and it's in my products. It's in the dental drops. So, so he called me after the conference.
Right. I wrote something wrong in that thing. I was listening to you while I was typing, which I should not do. It's New Zealand deer antler
velvet.
Velvet.
Yes. Sorry. So yeah, there you go. Velvet. Yeah, not development. So he called me and asked me if I would develop this line and bring it to market in the US. And I said, I don't know how to do that. No. And he called me 8 times and said, I want you to do this. And I kept saying, I'm not the right person. I don't know how to do this. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. So I finally just said, okay, I'll figure it out. And that's how it got started. So we started with the dental drops, and then we have a wellness formula for younger dogs and cats. And then we developed a senior dog product that helps with cognition as well as mobility. So then we developed a line of washable, reusable piddle pads, washable, reusable diapers. We have cat caves from the Himalayas that are really cool. They're made with New Zealand wool. Those are really cool. And the next thing that we're working on are some more supplements, especially some GI stuff, because I've got older dogs that tend to, have more digestive issues. So we're working on that. And we're also working on some organic essential oil shampoos and topical products. So
fantastic.
So much stuff in the works.
Yeah, no, that's so great. And you guys, you can get everything on her website. So again, just go to drjudymorgan.com for all that information. We have time for just one more question. And I saw one, somebody put it in back here regarding HeartGuard. I just want to find it.
What do I do in place of HeartGuard?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
So in the first book, From Needles to Natural, there's a chapter in there on parasite prevention. And there's a study in there called the Safe Heart study, which was on the FDA website in 1995 or 97. They've since taken it down just recently, because every once in a while I check in to make sure it's still there, and it's gone. And I think it just aged out. But it basically is talking about using milbemycin, which is what's in Interceptor, at very low doses over extended periods of time, instead of giving a higher dose every single month. So that protocol is in my book. The biggest problem is getting your vet to prescribe it at that dose, because they're going to say, no, it doesn't work. And we also only give it seasonally here in New Jersey, because it's frozen tundra outside. There's not a mosquito to be found. Mosquitoes can only transmit heartworms when the outside temperature stays above 60 degrees around the clock for 2 weeks straight. So even if we get a warm spell in February, which we just had, it drops down to 30 at night. So as long as it drops down, the larvae can't keep developing in the mosquitoes. So they can't spread them. So it's seasonal depending on where you live. If you're in Mississippi, you better be given something. But there really have not been any proven heartworm preventatives that are alternatives. When you see anecdotal evidence for, we've never had a positive heartworm, I think a lot of it is anecdotal, and you have to look at, if they live in Canada, okay, they don't really have heartworms there. So you've got to look at where that evidence is coming from. Now, with that said, on my website, there's a link to a book called Vital Animals Don't Get Heartworm. And that was written by Will Falconer. And so I have a link to that. The healthier your pet is, the less risk they have of developing any sort of parasites. But if you have an animal that's got chronic inflammatory disease and they're on a less than stellar diet, then they don't have optimal health. So it really is about having a vital animal if you're going to go heartworm free living in Mississippi and Louisiana. So, there's a lot that goes into the decision of what to use.
Yeah. And it, guys, it's boiling back down to the same point of the health, vitality, and wellness of your pet is really determined by what they are eating and what is going in, and how you are treating them with vaccines and the whole approach. And remember that it's the same for you at the other end of the leash as well. So I apologize, guys. We have limited time left, but I know that Dr. Judy is accessible via her website with questions. Somebody's asking about Sentinel. I don't know if you can give a real quick answer to that, if it's the same as the HeartGuard or if there's anything different.
Sentinel is the milbemycin, and so that's the same as the Interceptor. That's what the ingredient is, but the Sentinel has the flea prevention in it as well. And in Louisiana, maybe that's not such a bad thing. And I have been known to use Sentinel. I've stopped treating my dogs just because of where I live. The other resource that I would offer up is my Facebook page, Judy Morgan D.V.M. If you go to just Judy Morgan, you get my kids. But, if you go to Judy Morgan D.V.M, we do a Facebook Live almost every morning, but they're all archived. There's over 700 videos on there, and they're generally educational. So we just pick a topic. We also have a supporters group, which is a monthly subscription, and that's a smaller group. And we do one-on-one question and answer, or I'll do webinars, educational things. So there's a ton of stuff on there as well.
Awesome. So let's get that in our notes here for you guys. This is so informative. I wish we had more time. It's a topic that is absolutely fascinating, something that I'm interested in. I know you guys are interested in. I want to remind you, if you're just jumping on a little late, we do a giveaway. We'll put the link in here again as well. Dr. Judy Morgan is giving away her dental drops, so an opportunity to win those. We are going to give you All You Need Is Dog car magnet and a pair of It's All Fun and Games until someone ends up in a cone socks. And I just want to thank you guys. Please share this with your dog loving friends. This is so helpful. And please go to her Facebook page, learn. And my objective for you guys is to be able to spend the best quality time for as long as it's humanly and caninely minimally possible. So clearly you are brilliant. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And everybody else, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care.